Thank you, Buzz. I'm Nikki, and you're watching What Happened on the Soaps. This is the Young and the Restless edition. Now, I was supposed to drop this over the weekend, but honestly, I just rested this weekend. So I'm doing it today, including Monday's episode. So let's go ahead and get into it. I am actually enjoying Young and the Restless, the Young and the Restless, because I don't know, it's entertaining. They're know who's the number ones on the show. Now, I'm not going to even lie to you. Wednesday's episode with Mariah and Tessa and all them, I didn't watch it. I'm not really into those storylines. I'm just wanting to see what's going on with Dumas. So let's get there. So we see that that Lily, Devon, Damien, at they have all arrived at the chateau, right? So they've made it to the stagecoach, and they're trying to figure out what's going on as well. Now, Abby couldn't make it because the baby got sick, and so she had to stay back to make sure he was all good, and then she's going to be coming on later on. So then we see that once they arrive, that um they go into the maze. Now, Damien, he starts to hyperventilate because he was like, I can't be in small places. He's claustrophobic. So he was like, I need to get up out of here. They calm him down, and then they make it in, and they're eating and everything. And Amanda comes to Lily because, Dumas finally, well, at this point they didn't know, but Amanda lets Lily know that Dumas is actually has made it, and he wants to speak to her in private. So she goes off with Lily. Right now, Phyllis is trying to figure out what's going on, so she's chasing after them, but some kind of way Phyllis didn't make it in time, child, so she all lost in the maze. So Lily goes and she speaks to Dumas, and she's like, what's good? At first she was going, and then she told Amanda, like, stop playing games with me, girl. What is going on? Why does he want to speak to me? And Lily was like, Amanda, just trust me. He wants to speak to you before everyone else. And so Lily, no, did I say Amanda? But I meant Lily. But anyways, so Lily goes ahead and she goes and meets, and then she finds out this person is Kane, child. And so she's like, what is going on? And so he tells her everything, that he's built this legitimate business. And she was like, I don't understand, like, why haven't you said anything? Why is all this secrecy? And at this point, Lily is just ticked off with him, and she don't want to talk. I said, girl, get the answers that you want. So she started going back through the maze or whatever, to tell everybody what's going on. She started hyperventilating because she done got lost in the maze, and she's upset about Kane. So she starts screaming, help, help. And then, everyone else, so like Devon, they're all at the, I can't even call it a dinner because they're not eating anything. All they're doing is getting drunk because all they're doing is drinking. And so they're like, who is that? That sounds like Lily. So, of course, Damon and Devon go chasing after her to find out what's going on. And they've already let Victor know that, hey, we need you to come out because the Dumas wanting to let y'all know that he has arrived and he wants to meet with everyone. So that's when Nick, because Victor and Nikki were in the cart, and Nikki told Victor, "Listen, I am hungry. I can't stay up in this cart all day." And he said, "You'll be all right." But so that's what happened with them, y'all. So then we see, that after, oh my gosh, I didn't even write notes for this. Like, I thought I had wrote a lot of notes, but I guess I didn't, because I was like, girl, it's not that deep. So then we see, so everyone is all together, right? And they're all talking, and they're going, just trying to figure out what's going on. And when Victor hears that Lily met with Demar, he like, yeah, I know definitely who it is now. I suspect it. So then here comes, everybody is getting antsy, and they're like, listen, I'm about to go. I don't have all day for this. So just as they're about to go, here comes Dumas, and it's Kane, and he was like, I just want to thank everyone for coming and everything. And they're like, what's going on here, Kane? What are you doing? So then Kane lets them know that he is Dumas, and they're like, what? So Billy is like, what are you talking about? And of course, Jack, everyone's just like, what's going on? What are you talking about? How are you Dumas? So he starts trying to explain to him what's been going on and how he's this person. So then, child, we see that as he's talking to them, Lily is just like, no more lies. She ends up coming in because they're like, no wonder Lily rolled off because you've been lying. And Phyllis is looking like at Amanda, said, huh, oh, okay, what's going on here? And so Lily comes in with Devon and Damien, and she was like, yes, we want answers and no more lies. He didn't really answer anything, child. He was just talking in circles about, how he's made all this fortune. He wanted to share his good fortune with them. He didn't believe that they would come and, celebrate because it was him. So that's why he did it like this. And they said, what this, you see, you playing games, Kane. You are playing games. And so then Lily's just like, I can't deal with this. So she leaves. And of course Devon and Damien go after her. And then Victor tells Dumas, Kane, I want to talk to you. And so Kane is like, we can do it later. And Victor's like, no, I want to talk to you now. So they go and talk, right? And so while they're talking, hold on, let me give her a snack. All right, I'm back. So while they're going off and talking, and everything, Victor's trying to find out, what do you want, Kane? Why this elaboration and these lies and everything? He was like, this is a lot like your dad, and he was like, my dad, you know. And Victor asked him how his dad was, and he said his dad passed away. He said, but before he passed away, they made peace. Victor being very sarcastic and stuff. I said, Victor, like, you act like you haven't done things in the past. Now, I mean, because some people would say that you have some shady business practices and everything. You just always are on the up and up, but some of your stuff be a little shady too. And everybody, hold on, y'all. She wants cereal. Hold on. All right. So anyways, Victor, you have some shady business practices as well, but it is what it is. So he just tells him, I've made, we made peace and all my business is on the up and up. And he's told Victor he wants to trade. And Victor said, a trade for what? He said, I'm only offering this deal to you. You could have all of the businesses the Ma has, under them. No, ma'am. And didn't I just tell you no? And so if I give you those business, because it's quite a few, I'm assuming, then what I want is Chancellor. And Victor said, you're not getting Chancellor. I said, no, Victor, get them people that Chancellor back. Get that man Chancellor back. He said, ain't. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen right there, child. So anyways, then we go to Phyllis because she talking to Amanda and she said, oh, because Phyllis is only really invited because Amanda got her the invite or everything. And so Phyllis was trying to get a job. And so she telling Amanda, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do because now this changes the game. And she was like, you can't give me any information on me. And Amanda said, at the end of the day, Phyllis, that is my boss. You my girl, but that is my boss. No, I can't give you any additional information. Phyllis was like, that's all right. I'm gonna figure something out. I said, I don't care what anybody said. I love Phyllis. I know people don't like her, but I love me some Phyllis. So then you got Jack, Billy, Sally, and Diane, right? So they're all talking. I like what Diane has on. Stop that. Shh. I like what Diane has on, but they're all talking, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, Billy, you didn't know? And he was like, no, I didn't know. And they said, what do you think he's after? And they said, he's got to be Chancellor. And they said, well, Catherine did leave it to him. So, they just giving us the history. Really, not Abby, but Audra and Kyle were giving us the history. And what's going on with them two? I said, are they really finna get back together? Because it looks like, but anyway, that's another story. But I said, what's going on with them two? But really, they were just filling this in on history of Kane today. That's what they were telling. Like each group was giving us small bits and details, and they said so. Billy was like, Jill pit us against each other. It's all this sibling rivalry she wanted us to have, and she enjoyed it. And Jack was like, I don't know about that, Billy. If she pitted y'all against each other. Oh, he was like, oh, she did. And he said, and now Catherine left Chancellor to Kane or whatever, and so now I think he's coming to take it back. But Billy kind of wanted that. And so Phyllis was eavesdropping and she said, Chancellor, somebody mentioned Chancellor. And they said, what you want, Phyllis? And Diane told her it's not polite to eavesdrop. She said, we're supposed to be here mingling and stuff. So I'm mingling with everybody. I said she truly is. But so they start talking and they talk about Abbott media and everything. And she said, "Oh, Billy, it's bring your wife to work. It's bring your partner to work day or something." And Sally was like, "I'm not gonna go back and forth with you, Phyllis. Come on, Billy." And so they walk off or whatever. And so Phyllis asks Jack, "What do you think?" And he says he don't know, but he was like, it's possible that he wants Chancellor, but it's possible that he doesn't want anything, but you just never know. And so Phyllis is like, those are wise words or whatever. Phyllis is just trying to find her in. So then so Billy and Sally are talking, and she tells him, "Come on, Billy, let's just go. Because we got enough information. Abbott Media does need us, and we could run a huge story about this." And he was like, "No, something else going down here, and I'm gonna figure it out or whatever." So they doing that, child. Then we go over here and hey, Phyllis is with Nick now, right? And so he's asking her, "What you trying to do?" And she said, "I'm trying to get me a job." And he said, "Were you?" He said, "You and with Kane, y'all wasn't friends." She said, "But we wasn't enemies either." She was like, "I'm on an even playing field with him. He wasn't my enemy. He wasn't my friend, but he don't have a reason to turn her down for a job or anything." So she said, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna shoot my shot to try to see if I can get me some work. I said, okay. So then they move on, and everybody else is just talking. It's just a little chit chat. It's not much going on. The main thing was that Lily and them, they go back to the stagecoach, right? And so she tells Devon, and hold on, she tells Devon and Damien that she and Kane are actually not on good terms. And Devon was like, "Well, why you didn't say that?" She said, "I'm embarrassed to say I'm that I was embarrassed of the father of my child, the man I was married to." She was like, "And he brought me to France when he married me, and then he gonna do this in France." She ticked off at Kane, and I said, "Well, what happened, girl?" So then they deal with flashback. Now, this is a different type of flashback because this is a scene that they added in that we just haven't seen. They had to do some kind of flashback. So apparently 6 years ago, he wanted his children to meet his dad because he said his dad is on the up and up. Now they done told us, just by our conversations that we've been having, that Kane's dad stole Devon's inheritance and Kane had to give it back to him. And then so Lily, he also tried to kidnap the children, the twins. And so Lily don't want anything to do with his daddy, but Kane wants their children to meet the dad or whatever, his dad. And Lily is against it. And so she tells him, "Don't talk to me no more because you talking crazy." And so that they haven't really been speaking. And so with all this happen, she feels like, wow, they all feel like, how did he rise in money so fast? Now, Kane told Victor that his dad had had land and he sold it and he invested in crypto, and that's how he became a bill, made his money and got to business, and that's he got to watch Kane become a billionaire. And that the money that his dad had stole from people, it was either returned or taken away from him anyways and given back or something. So it was all up and up money. It wasn't illegal money that he used to become a billionaire. But nobody believe no one believes Kane. But we're gonna see what's gonna happen, child. And that was Young and the Restless today. That's pretty good. Watching the Young and the Restless with this though, it makes you think. Okay, so these are what y'all consider y'all key stars. Because all of the key stars pretty much for the show are on this trip. you know. But anyways, child, that was Young and the Restless for the last few days. And I'll be back with another review of that. Y'all always remember on Wednesday. So then we're gonna go over here to Bold and the Beautiful. Now the Bold and the Beautiful didn't come on this Monday because Iran, struck back, did strikes at the U.S. base, or they attempted to. So of course they had to do that instead of letting us know about seeing the actual soap. So the soap didn't air for me today. Now if it ends up playing on Paramount or something like that, I'm not gonna get to watch it because I stopped investing in Paramount, so I don't watch it anymore. I guess I'll ask my sister, can I let me borrow your login, girl, so I can see it if it actually airs. But normally, but I don't know if it'll air or not. But if it does, then on Wednesday's episode, soap recap, then I'll update. But let's get into what's been happening. So of course we see Hold on, child. Let me go to my notes. Of course, we see. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. Steffi wants is her name Delphina? I don't know. Y'all know the woman that was trying to, she does the sits, and she was trying to break up Carter and Hope. And she does the sits and everything. She wants her to come back because she said her fragrance is selling so well. Her fragrance is selling so well that they need her. I said, can she do her scent? And I mean, she already had that scent before she met y'all. So what you need her for? Anyways, child. So they tell Hope, and Hope is apprehensive about this because she feel like this woman gonna try to take her man, her fiance. But and Carter is just like, if anything, we need to bring hope for the future back. Stop talking about hope for what is Hope doing now if hope for the future is not back? But anyways, let's move on. So she is Daphne says she's heartbroken because she still wants Carter, and she really didn't enjoy LA. She likes being where she is, but more than likely she's gonna come back. Ridge wants her back. Steffi wants her back. Plus, it'll blow up this whole relationship between Carter and Hope, anyways. So, child, this girl gonna probably end up coming back, and Hope you just gonna have. I said, Steph, you shouldn't want her back. Hope was having feelings for Finn at one point, or we thought they did. So, you should not want her back. But anyways, that's it with them, y'all. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on them. So then we go over here and we see who is it? Um Okay, so we're gonna go to Luna now. So Luna, Hayes is going to his art class. They're using Liam's beach house, and so he's at his art class, but he forgets like something outside. So when he runs back, the teacher tells him, "Hurry up and go get it, and then come on back into the class." So he runs to go get it, but he runs into Luna, and she has a piece of origami. I think it's origami. I think so. I don't know. Anyways, hold on. Yes, that's what it was. It was an origami flower. So she gives him this cute little flower, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool." And she said she made it. So when he goes into the teacher, and she was like, "Oh, that's real nice. All the kids loved it, right?" So then Hayes goes home, right? So because it's time for him to go. So he goes home. Now Luna is still outside, and the teacher comes out because they're about the same age. No, ma'am. Because they're about the same age, no. And yes, no. Mila Grace? No. And so they're about the same age. And she tells her, "Oh," she was like, "Oh, so you made the flowers and everything," because she sees Luna's work. And Luna was like, "Yeah." And so now the teacher said, "Oh, the kids loved it. Maybe you could come and teach them a class." Because she's just being innocent. And like, honestly, she probably should have been a little bit more careful who she brought around children. But they're both young, same age. She gave a cute flower to this young man. She not thinking like this girl is crazy. You know what I mean? Thank you, ma'am. So she's not thinking that this, girl is Luna, crazy, a little bit crazy. I love Luna, but I see her flaws. So, but look, that's how Luna gonna get to Hayes. I said, "What you plan on doing with him, girl?" She just wants to make, like, you're so obsessed with making Steffi suffer that you gonna hurt people that you actually want a relationship with. Like, if you do something to Hayes, your daddy gonna be mad at you. Like, what's wrong with you? Don't you understand that? Like, she's like Sheila. All she can see is, well, it'll hurt Steffi, but your daddy is in love with Steffi. He don't want her hurt. But she like, it'll get her out of the way. That's all she can think about is getting Steffi out of the way. So that's it with them, y'all. So then we go over here and we see Luna with not Luna, but we see Hope over here with her daddy. First of all, why they had to have that flashback when Hope was drinking her little coffee, her tea, or whatever she was drinking, and they had a flashback of Lil Nas when what was his name, Lil Nas X, and then I like do better, bold that little minute flashback could have been placed on a soap like relevance, but so they had that little flashback, right, and then the next thing you know, she talking to Deacon and she telling him about she's gotten engaged and how she loves Carter, and but she's worried because they were trying to bring. She just filling him in on her life, and he telling her like, yeah, but he was like, didn't he kiss that girl, and now all of a sudden he want to be engaged. He doesn't want her to be hurt again. So she contacts Carter. He comes over, and Deacon pretty much tells Carter the same thing he told her, like, don't be hurting my daughter. And Carter is just declaring his love for her. I said, Carter, I don't believe it. I'll have to see it to believe it, because we all know how you was declaring your love for Paris at one time, and then got with Quinn, and then Quinn leaves, and then you look so in love with Katie, and now you're in love with Hope. I just have to see it to believe it. That's it with y'all. I'm not gonna hold you on them. So then we see at one point Brooke was talking to Katie, because Nick, Brooke, and Ridge were all together. Ridge pretty much told Nick, "What you doing here? You need to leave." And he's trying to figure out why he's there, and he was like, he's there for business, and he's there to catch up with old friends and have memories. And you could tell the disdain that Ridge has for Nick. But Nick ends up leaving or whatever, and Brooke is talking to Ridge, and Ridge told Brooke, he's making his feelings known that he doesn't like Nick, and she was like, he just came to see me. We do have a child together, like they have Jack together, and so he came to see her, and he was like, I just don't trust him. You need to stay away from him. I said, oh. Rashby, he be killing me with all of that. Like, every time he feels like it is okay for him to tell Brooke who to be with and who not to be with. First of all, Brooke with that off the shoulder shirt with the skirt, that was real cute with those silver heels. Really cute. She looked cute that day. But I said, Ridge, like every time he feels like he told her to stay away from Deacon, he could no longer come over. She does that. He doesn't want her around Bill. He doesn't want her around Nick. Sir, what? No, not when you go get to run to Taylor anytime you want to. Like she could never tell him, I don't want you around Taylor, because he would never allow her to do that. So don't allow him to tell you who you can and cannot be around. Brooke, my gosh. But anyways, he said that mess tickled me. He told her, I don't want him to. I don't want you to around him. Like, don't be around him or whatever. And then he walk over to the desk and get on the phone and just start working. Like his word is law. I said, Brooke, you're not gonna tell him nothing. You're not gonna say anything. So then the next scene that we see, Brooke is talking to Katie, and she tells her that Nick came to visit, and she said, "What?" And she was like, "Well, how is he? He still look nice and everything." And she was like, "Yeah, he still look nice." And she said, "But Ridge, his reaction." Hold on. She said, Ridge. So she starts telling Katie Ridge's reaction to it. And Katie said, he sounds jealous. And she said, well, he's still protective of me. And Katie said, really, he don't have a reason to be. He keep leaving you, girl. That's not what she said, but that's what I heard. He keeps leaving you, girl. So there's no reason for Ridge to be feeling like he has to be protective. And he certainly shouldn't be telling you who you should and you can and cannot be with. And I'm like, tell her, talk to her, Katie. Talk to this woman, because she be letting Ridge have too much control over her life. Now, Ridge is over here with Taylor telling her about, Nick and how he can't believe he was there and he can't stand it. And Taylor said, well, honey, I knew it was something wrong with you because you came in last night and you seemed upset. No, Mila, you seemed upset. And she said, so I let it go. And so now today is a new day. And so that's when he was telling her about Nick. And she said, well, Reg, I'm not gonna lie, you sound like you used to. Why do you care who Brooke talks to? Nick is a good man or whatever. And he was like, I just don't like him. I don't like him. And so Taylor was like, what's going on here? Because you coming across jealous. And he was like, what? No, not at all. He's trying to tell Taylor that everything is all good with them. Taylor don't believe it. And so she said, what's wrong if Brooke starts talking to it to Nick again? And he's just like, no, she doesn't need to talk to him again. She doesn't need to. I don't want her to. He's no good for her. And he was like, I don't want her. I'm with you, but I can still say he's no good for her. And she was like, but Ridge, you really don't have the right to be saying that because you're with me now. So who Brooke is with shouldn't be any of your business. Don't turn on that toy, ma'am. It shouldn't be any of your business. And so but Ridge is Ridge. I'm like, why do you care? Like, you can't be that control. That does sound controlling. Like, I don't want you, but but anybody else can't have you. So, anyways, he tells her this or whatever, and she's just like, I don't, shit. Taylor doesn't like it because Ridge is coming off jealous, and how you gonna tell your well, not new woman, because they've been back and forth, but you know what I mean. How you gonna tell your new woman that your old woman has a visitor, and he trying to sniff around her, and you don't like it? It don't make sense. It makes no sense. So then we get to who else did we see? So then we get to um sorry, I'm going through my notes, deleting what okay. So then we get to Ridge goes to the office, right? And so when he goes to the office, Steffi is there. So he's telling Steffi, they're just talking business and everything. And then he tells Steffi about Nick showing up. And Steffi tried to make a little joke, trying to call Brooke a whore. And I said, you kill me with these little jokes, Steffi. Like, you ain't had just as many bodies, but whatever. But she makes a little comment like, well, you never know with Brooke. And he was like, it was Nick, and he was like, he was just there to say hi, but I don't know. I just don't like it. And so he just keeps going on and on about how Brooke doesn't need to be around him. She doesn't need to talk to him, and she doesn't need to do this. And Steffi said, well, dang, you are still with my mama, aren't you? Because she said, I'm not going to even front. You sound a little jealous. She said, you didn't tell mom this, did you? And he was like, yeah, I told her whatever. She said, because you sounding jealous. I mean, why can't Brooke be with that man? And he was like, because he's no good or whatever. And Steffi said, I don't know, Dad. Like, I mean, what does it matter who Brooke is with if you're with mom and you're happy? And he was like, it's not about that. It's just about him not wanting Nick around. And she was like, okay, but you sound a little jealous, and I don't know. And so he's trying to reassure Taylor. He was trying to tell Steffi the same way that he told Taylor that it was nothing going on with it. He's not jealous or anything. He just doesn't like Nick. But both of them are side eyeing Ridge because you're coming across jealous, sir, and controlling at that. And so then we see that Brooke had to drop something off at Eric's, right? So she was dropping something off, and Taylor was there. And so then Taylor starts fishing, right? And she starts being like, oh, well, Ridge told me that Nick came. And she was like, oh, y'all pillow talking about me, right? That's what it sounded like when she was like, no, he was just telling me. And she was like, and Taylor, here go Taylor. I think you should talk to Nick. He's still successful, and he came back. I know he just didn't come back for business because he stopped by and talked to you. And she was like, yeah, that's true. She said, Nick is a good man, and we do have a child together and everything. And Taylor was like, yeah, right. And she said, but what was Brooke being petty herself? What was weird was Ridge's reaction. And Taylor said, oh, what you trying to say, Brooke? And she said, I'm just saying that he was adamant that I not speak to Nick. I mean, you would think. And she said, are you trying to say he's jealous or something? You trying to say that he doesn't want you to speak to Nick because she didn't say that, but that's what I heard. Because he doesn't want you to talk to Nick because he's jealous and everything. And Brooke said, I'm just saying it, like, he was just adamant that I not even speak to Nick. And although you might want me to, and she said, I'm sure you do want me to talk to Nick. I said, look at Brooke being messy. I'm sure you do want me to talk to Nick. Ridge made it very clear that he's very much so against that. And Brooke just dropped that little thing on Taylor, and she said, well, all right, I'll see you later, girl, and walked out. I said, you messy, because we all know that Taylor wants Brooke to talk to Nick so that her attention will be away from Ridge, so that she could get her away from Ridge, and Ridge could focus on Taylor. I said, girl, that's not gonna work, because The problem isn't that Brooke wants Ridge, which she does, and Brooke stop running after that man like that. It's pathetic. But the problem is Ridge doesn't want to admit that he wants Brooke just as bad. And the real reason he's upset about Nick coming back is that Brooke gonna take her attention off of Ridge and put it over there towards Nick, and he don't want her with Nick. This is the classic case of, like I said earlier, I don't want you, but I don't want anybody else to have you, especially somebody you've had a relationship with before. I definitely don't want you with him or whatever. Not that man of all men. I said, what Ridge should he'll feel this way if it was a new man that came into Brooke's life and she was getting to know him and she was trying to, form some type of relationship. I don't know, child, but I know as of right now, he don't want her with this one. Anyways, that's all I got for you as far as that. So let's move on to that was the Bold and the Beautiful. I'm the only storyline I'm really intrigued about is the whole Nick Ridge and Taylor thing, even though it's the same storyline all the time. I just want to see how long it's going to take for this whole thing to blow up with Taylor and Ridge. And when it blows up, Taylor, don't you take this man back anymore. I don't know why I'm telling you this because I know you're going to take him back. You gonna take him back anyways, girl. But I wish you wouldn't. I wish they would have brought somebody on for Taylor to get with. I wish they would have done that. But anyways, let's move on to General Hospital. Now, this isn't Monday's episode of General Hospital. This is what happened over the last few days. So this is gonna be real quick and brief. So we see on these episodes of General Hospital that okay, first of all, hold on. Okay, so this is the past episodes of General Hospital. This is like last week. So we see that first of all, Sidwell wants to buy, of course, still buy, the peers and everything from Sonny, take control over it. Sonny says no, and we find out that he is the reason that Michael has custody because he ends up telling the judge comes over to him. This is after Sonny leaves because Sonny feels like he threatened him. Anyway, Sonny not gonna give him control or whatever. He not gonna do it. So there's about to be a war between these two. But he tells the judge, thank you. She tells him, I did what you told me to do. I gave Michael full custody. And so we know that's how Michael really got full custody of Wiley and Amelia because the judge was crooked. Sidwell had her do it. So then we see that when it comes to that, the next thing that happens is, speaking of Michael, he goes and he talks to um, the hospital because Daisy was missing. So when Daisy had came up missing or whatever, they ended up finding her. We talked about that on the last recap. So when she was missing, they end up finding her and they go back to the Quartermain's house because that's where she's going to be staying. And as of right now, I believe that's where Michael is as well because he wants all of his children to be under the same roof, so they can get to know each other. Now he's in the he and Sasha talk and they're talking about full custody. She still wants to be full, the custodial parent, primary custody. She doesn't even want Michael's name on the birth certificate. He agrees to that because he said, I agreed to that before. Nothing's changed. She was like, nothing's changed for me. He doesn't feel like Sasha will put their children in danger. So he agrees to that. And, he says, but they have it written up that if anything ever happens to Sasha, then Michael will receive full custody of their child. So they have it written up that way. And so they both say, okay, done data, right? So then we see that while Sasha goes to bed, right? And everybody is doing their own thing. Daisy's in the room in her room. And then Sasha comes in later on and she said, who turned this on? Because somebody came into the room. We don't know who it was. Somebody came into the room and they turned on. Is it raining? They turned on the, like, how babies have their little it's like I can't think what it's called, y'all, but it plays music and someone turned it on and Sasha was like, who turned this on? So who messing with baby Daisy? I don't know if it has something to do with Sidwell, if maybe he's part of it. I don't know if it's Willow because Willow is having these spaced out moments where you could clearly tell mentally Willow is not all the way there. So I don't know if it's her. I don't know who messing with this baby, but somebody is messing with this baby, because I don't think it was an accident that they gave Sasha the wrong baby at the hospital. And some people, I saw y'all were in the comments, were saying that, do you think, that Willow had a moment where she's blacked out, or she's like blacking out? Because, they had Elizabeth doing that, and she's blacking out and she's going and doing stuff, and then she doesn't remember she's doing it. It could be. I don't know who messing with this baby, but we're going to see. I said, oh, Lord, we're going to have another baby kidnapping. Oh, it is raining again. All right. So then we move on from there to Nina and Ava are talking, and Nina is telling Ava, "Oh my gosh, this custody went horrible." She was like, "And it's all Drew's fault." And she said, "But I should have told Willow about me and Drew." And she said, "Maybe I still can." And she was like, "Girl, no." Nina said, "No, well now you can't." She said, "Cause she done lost custody of her children now, because she wouldn't leave Drew alone. If you wanted to tell Willow, you should have told her before she lost custody of her children, so that she would have left Drew alone, and her and Michael could have worked something out." You know what I mean? They could have worked something out, because she would have no longer been around Drew. But now you can't tell her, because she's lost her. And Ava said something else. She was like, "And you don't even know if she would believe you if you told her." I said, "Because Willow, she has that personality where she can easily slip under a cult like personality." Because quiet as kept, it was a little bit like that with Michael, but Michael would never wished her harm, and he was never selfish in all of his wants, kind of like Drew is towards Willow, where it's really all about Drew, and what he wants. I don't even know why Drew is like doing this with Willow, because at this point it just seems cruel the way he is with her. Because it's one thing if he would just really cared about her, but you blew her family up, and you're not a good guy, because he's running around behind her back doing all these horrible things. And she would never be with you if she knew that you said that out loud on purpose for Wiley to hear about his dad and everything. She would never be with Drew for that reason. And it's like his obsession with Willow is weird to me. But anyways, let's move on. So Nina and Ava are talking, and she was like, "You can never tell." She was like, "Right." And plus, if you alienate yourself from Willow, all she's gonna do is lean on Drew more anyway. So you gotta be there, and you're gonna lose your daughter. And so Nina's not gonna tell still. I said, when is this secret gonna come out? I don't even know why y'all hid it in the first place. Like, you should have, if when you first was sleeping with Drew, and you found out he was wanting your daughter, you should have said something. That's just weird. So, anyways, we move on from that, and we see that, because I'm just gonna get them out of the way. Drew is talking to Willow, and he tells Willow that he found out a way that they could get their children back, right? That that they could get her children back. And she was like, "What?" And he was like, "Marry me." And Willow's like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah," because he talked to Martin about it, and they said, "If you marry me, we'll show a united front to the court, and it isn't just that you had an affair on Michael, but you're actually with the man you had an affair with, or whatever." And Willow was like, "I don't know." She was like, I lost my kids because the judge thought I was messing around with you." And I said, "Girl, you still don't want to blame him for losing your kids, but you lost your kids because of Drew." And so now she's just like, "I don't know about marrying you, because I don't know how the judge would look at that. And I don't want to do anything right now with, because they got to go back to court for visitation." She was like, "I don't want to make a bad decision." And the judge is like, "Oh, so you're going to just keep making bad decisions." And so, then Drew says, "Oh my gosh, look how everyone's turned our love for each other against us." I said, "Lord, this is like a cult leader. Look how everyone has turned our love for each other against us." And just think about it, because I love you and I want to be with you. So just think about it." And she was like, "Okay." But Willow really out of it. She's spaced out of it. So then she's supposed to meet with Nina later on, right? And so she meets with Nina at the pool. And Michael and Christina and the children and Wiley had been there earlier because Wiley had swim lessons, and Wiley forgot a shirt, right? So Willow is talking to Nina and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Wiley forgot his shirt." And Nina was like, "No, Willow, that's not his." Because she don't know or not, she just knows she wants to calm Willow down. And so Willow's like, "Yes, his swim lessons. Oh, I must have got the date wrong." And she said, "Did you tell me you wanted to meet here so that you could try to bump into Michael and Wiley?" She said, "Willow, that's not a good idea." And she said, "No, if I was to go over to their house to see him, that wouldn't be a good idea. But just bumping into him, I don't see anything wrong with that." And Nina said, "Baby, you're fighting for custody. You can't do anything like that the judge would deem that you're trying to manipulate or, anything like that." And so then Christina comes because she says the shirt, Lila's kids, was Wiley's. And she said, "I'm gonna give it back to him." And Willow was like, how is he and how is going on?" And Christina can clearly see that Willow is not good. So she tells her, "I'm gonna tell him, I'll tell him that, I'm going to give the shirt back, and they know that you love them, Willow." And you could just clearly see that Christina is not, I mean, not Christina, but um, Willow is not well. So Christina had empathy for her. So then Nina tries to gather her together. And that's what we're going to see on today's episode of General Hospital. So then you see that the next thing you see is Willow tells um, Nina that she's going to marry Drew. And Nina is like, What are you talking about? Are you going through your work?" She was like, Nina was like, "What do you mean you're gonna marry Drew?" She said, "I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna get my kids back by marrying Drew." So Nina is just shocked. It's like, why would you want to marry Drew? So that's the end of that with them, y'all. So we'll find out about that on today's episode. So then we see where Elizabeth and Christina had talked, right? Because I just mentioned Christina. So they talked, and Elizabeth lets Christina know that, "Yeah, I know what you did. I know that you are the one who, cut Ava's brakes and everything, and you're the reason that Rick and I had the wreck." She said, "But the only reason I'm not going to tell is because of Lucky asked me not to." And she said, "But don't do crazy." She was like, "Just don't do crazy stuff because, in a moment of passion, then you turn around and do something crazy." Right? And so she was like, "Okay, I completely understand. Yes, I understand." So that's it with them. And Rick came over. She didn't tell him anything. But she didn't tell him anything about Christina. But she did tell Rick, "Listen, I don't want you. Just because Lucky's not here doesn't mean anything. I still don't want you. Like, we're not going to be in any type of relationship." And Rick tried to play that off. "Yes, y'all are. Y'all will be together. Um, yes, y'all are." But that's pretty much it with them, y'all. So let's move on. So then we see, okay, who's messing with Daisy? Okay, so then we go over here, and Drew's reputation is getting better. Why? Because he's turned this. The people feel bad for him because they feel like Tracy tried to drug him and everything. So the public opinion of him is changing. So that's why they feel like the marriage with Willow would work, because they want Tracy to come out and give an apology. Curtis goes over to talk to Tracy, and so does Michael. And they said, "Listen, you're going to have to give us a public apology because we all know Drew is bad." They tell her about trying to find the escort so that she can say that, with Drew, that, he was getting the drugs and everything off of her. And Tracy's like, I don't want to do it." When Martin came over, because they finally convinced Tracy to do it. When Martin came over and he said, "Here's the speech," and she read that speech, baby, she ripped that up and threw her hands. Tracy is so funny to me. She said, I don't want to do it. I can't do it." and Michael and Curtis are like, "Tracy," because Michael is in on it too. Like they're setting Drew up to expose him for the bad guy that he is. And so she said, "Fine, fine, I'll do it. I'll apologize or whatever," because she knows in the end they're gonna end up getting Drew. And so that's it with them, y'all. That's how Drew's the public opinion is changing on Drew, because Tracy's gonna have to come out and admit that she did, that she did try to drug him. Well, she drugged him and everything. That she was guilty, but that Drew has forgiven her. He's gonna come out and be like, "I forgive you, and I'm not gonna press charges and all of that stuff." So to keep Tracy out of jail. So then we see that who else is it? Okay. Okay, so I do see that Trina went to speak to Ava. She thinks that Kai is done with Drew, even though Drew offered him an internship and everything. She thinks that Kai is done with Drew, and she's glad. She said because Drew just used Kai for publicity to turn his, to turn his reputation around, but and everything. But she doesn't know that Kai has went over to Drew to turn him down for the internship. But Drew is telling him, "Oh, it won't be in Washington. We'll be right here, and you could just go to me with Washington a few days." So Kai gonna end up working with Drew. Child, it's not over, Trina. And so then we see what's the next part. That we already talked about. We're going. Okay, so then we go to Portia. So Portia was in the before credits went over to Tracy and everything. Portia was in credits office trying to talk to him about everything, and she's trying to apologize and all that. Jordan knocks and comes in, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, am I interrupting?" And Portia, "Yes, you are." I said, Portia cannot stand Jordan. I said, "But girl, you the liar. You the one keep lying to this man, putting your marriage in jeopardy." So then Curtis told Portia, "What we got to speak on is not meant for the office. I'm gonna talk to you at the house." That's what he told her. And she was like, mm-hmm. So she leaves, and of course, Curtis lets Jordan know that his marriage is, Portia keep lying to him, and so his marriage is on the rocks. And Portia is just like, Portia keeps lying to him, so his marriage is on the rocks. And Jordan is trying to be supportive and everything. And then after they get done talking, she calls up Anna because and her and Anna go meet for drinks, and she tells Anna, "Listen, I said, Portia, you don't want Curtis back. No, you don't." And she was like, "I don't know. I mean, his marriage is on the rocks. He told me that." And Anna told her about the whole thing with her and Robert and Holly and all that. She said, "Portia, I mean, Jordan, that's not how you want to get that man. You don't want him this way." And she was like, "I know." She said, "I don't." I said, "Portia, you don't really want him." She was like, "I don't know if I just want him or if it's just like, She said, but when my marriage was over, it didn't stop Portia from circling around or whatever." She said, she's not the reason we're divorced, but she didn't help it." And I said, "But yeah, you don't want to be that woman. Plus, I don't like the way Curtis be talking to Jordan all the time. Like, we're not finna have a Brooke Ridge and Taylor over here with Portia, Jordan, and Curtis. Leave that man alone, because he was able to forgive Portia for everything. He always finds a way to forgive her. He could never find a way to forgive you. So leave this man alone, Jordan. We don't want him. Yes, we do not want him, girl. And anyways, so she just decided that, she's not gonna be the reason that, a marriage ends up breaking up, after she had her drink. And then she go over there and talk to the doctor a little bit. So I don't know who they about to put Jordan with, but y'all don't ever she don't ever have a man. She never has a man. But anyways, y'all, that's pretty much what happened on General Hospital the end of last week. There was a few other, things to go on. I know they had the softball thing. Sonny talked to Turner. It was nothing. Gio talked to Sonny, and he's gonna play for Corinthos Coffee. That's who he has, the relationship with still, because Sonny ain't never did nothing to him. So he has a relationship with him. Brooklyn's still gonna try to see what she can do with finding out that, I guess, Britt is really the mother of Rocco and everything. I don't know what's about to happen, child. I don't know what's about to happen with all that, but I'm gonna be watching. Anyways, that's all I got for you. I'll be back on Wednesday with more in regards to this. Y'all, I started watching Beyond the Gates. Oh my god, it is so good. I'm not gonna even hold you. Beyond the Gates is good, but it seemed like it comes across okay. They have actors on Beyond the Gates that are really they're good, like because they have names on there, and then they have some that it feels like you could see that they're acting, so it's like and then the set kind of feels like it doesn't feel like a CBS set, maybe because I'm still getting used to it, but the set feels like a play almost, and it feels like it should be a nighttime. It feels like a Tyler Perry or a Tubi soap, but it's good, right? It's good. So I'm like, I'm watching it. I'm trying to catch up, learn all the different names. I'm trying so that I can start reviewing that. And of course, I need to start watching Days again. Days, I know all the names. I just haven't been, I had no interest to watch it. So I'm trying to get the interest back to start watching it again, but I just haven't had an interest. Because I knew that week that John, his funeral was, I was like, nah, I don't want to watch it this week. That's gonna be sad. Like, yeah, that's gonna be a sad week. But they supposed to have some bombshells dropping this week, so I might tune in a little bit, to get caught up in everything and go back a few episodes to start seeing what's going on, because Days is one of those soaps. You miss a few, they got a whole three different storylines going. You are missed your shot. General Hospital, you could drop in and out of that. And Young and the Restless, all that, you could drop in and out of those soaps, especially Bold and the Beautiful Child. But Days of Our Lives, that's not one of them. That's not one of them you can do that on. So I'm trying to catch up, but I'm just really enjoying Beyond the Gates. It's really good. Anyways, y'all, that's all I got for you today. I'll see you Wednesday. We'll be back on our schedule on Wednesday to review the soaps. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.